Hello, everyone. My name is Lytle. I'll be hosting today's Training Thursday for Mortgage Coach. What we're going to do today is we're going to cover a refinance scenario. I'm hearing a lot of comments out there of doing refinances. So let's just go through the process. I'll show you how to do it. And then when we're creating products, I want to create an ARM, an FHA. What products do you want to understand how to key into Edge? So while you're thinking of that, the way we're going to use GoToMeeting is make sure the question area is open. Please pass along any kind of questions that you have, and I'll address them during our call. I do want to ask 2 poll questions so I know where you're at. So if you get ready, let's go ahead and ask our first poll question, which will be on video. I want to know how everyone is on video. So if you could please answer the poll. Do you use video on every Edge presentation, yes or no? So I want to see how comfortable you are with that video aspect, so please answer that, and then we'll go ahead and give you the results shortly. So I got 68%. Let's get a couple more people voting. We want at least 75%, so if you can, please go ahead and make that vote. And let's go ahead and close that out. So we have 82% of you have not done video with your presentation. We're going to address that today, and it's really important to have a video on there. One, you're introducing yourself to the client. A lot of times this is the first time you've talked to them. A lot of people don't do face-to-face anymore. Great way of them understanding you and seeing your message. So next poll question I want to do is for Edge Live. So Marcy, if you could go ahead and put in that poll question for everyone. And do you use Mortgage Coach's Edge Live? So if you can answer that yes or no. And this is the gem of Edge. If you have not used Edge Live, you're missing it, because Edge Live will really let you reach out to that client, that borrower, and really make that connection and drive the report. It's something, that you always have when, you talking on the phone. You have no way of pointing out data on your email or Excel. Edge Live will allow you to do that. So with our poll, I have 93% said no and 7% said yes. So with this, we'll be focusing on the end of the call. We're going to be focused on the Edge Live, and I want you to be able to get part of it and really incorporate that within your presentations. So right now, if you're going to follow along with me, can I see the hands raised? If you're going to create the report with me, go ahead and raise your hand. So I'll be able to see how many. All right, Aaron, I see you're going to follow along. That's great. What I would like you to do is go ahead and let's log into Edge. It's edge.mortgagecoach.com. Go ahead and enter your password or login ID and password. And maybe you can put in the correct password. It would help. There we go. Okay, so now we're in Edge. Also, can I see a raise of hands if this is the first time that you've been in Edge, if it's brand new to you, or I don't see any hands, so it looks like everyone's been into Edge before. Okay, Aaron, I see one person. We might go a little bit fast, but let me go ahead and point out something to you. If you go to our Help button, and in our Help button, we have a lot of video tutorials. We'll talk about this in a little bit. But I want to point out our, we have a coaching call archive, which we'll touch base in a little bit, but our access of monthly calendar of events. I wanted to point this out because we have a Mortgage Coach University. And what that is we have a 101 beginners course where we really cover all the fields. And then on the 101 or 102 course intermediate, we really dive into delivering and working on the video. So that is really great here. And okay, great, Erin. She's been in it briefly, but just signed up. It's perfect. This Thursday trainings are for you, and for everyone who's on the call. If there's a specific report you want to be able to develop and not quite sure how, email us at support. Thursday trainings are to be able to develop reports for you and different scenarios. So there's a monthly calendar event. You can go ahead and do those 101. So now let's go ahead and dive into creating a refinance scenario. So to start the process, we're going to go ahead and click on New Client. And right, Mark, isn't it nice having a second monitor? So if anyone has a second monitor, it's really great. Have Edge up on one and the GoToMeeting on the other, and you can really follow along easily. Okay, so let's go ahead and put in a first name. I'm just going to go ahead and put in Kenneth, and I'm putting in Gambriel. You could go ahead and put whatever name is, but just to go through this rather quickly, you'll see that I'm just putting first, last name. If you have a phone number, it's great to add a phone number. It's not necessary, but when you get these email alerts, it will go ahead and place that phone number on there for you, so it's really quick and easy to have. I'm doing a TCA, so I'm keeping it marked as own. You could capture a referral. If you're doing email alerts and want a partner or maybe a process or an assistant to receive those email alerts, that's what that partner email address field is. And for those who are unfamiliar with alerts, here's an example of an email alert. It provides the name, how long they look at the report. This gives you an idea. If it's like 31 minutes, they really looked into it. Maybe a minute, they might have not gone into as deep into the report. So this gives you an idea. So you'll receive those email alerts. And if you have an email address in that partner email, you will have an option to send them one as well. So let's move on to our next screen, and I'm just going to mark it, not purchase a new home. We're doing a refinance. So if you mark purchase a new home, just to let you know, that will remove the refinance screens and keep it as a purchase property scenario. Leaving that unmarked, it is a refinance. You don't have to, you see a lot of items here for refinances that you can mark. You could go ahead and put that information because you're gathering data, or you could just go ahead and leave it empty like I am and move on. So it really depends on how you want to build out Edge. So a lot of times with the refinance scenario, we get a lot of questions in our support desk about refinances and about these two screens and entering the data. When you're talking to the client, or maybe you received it as a lead, you might not know all this data. So if that's the case, they might have said that their payment might be around $1,400, and then on the next screen we'll put in more data. This is just a collection data field. It doesn't do anything with the system. So I want to be able to point that out to you. It's just if they told you the amount, you place it in there. What is the purchase value or property value of the house? So it's property value is about $350,000. What's the original appraisal? Why do we ask for an original appraisal? You might not know this information at the time, but the reason why we ask for it is MI is based on the original appraised value for that loan that they currently have. So to be able to have the right cutoff amount and things like that, that's why we're asking for the original appraised value. If you don't have it, that's fine, but I just want to let you be aware of it. I'm going to leave the total current payoff total amount empty. This is another question. A lot of times with refinances, this affects your cash to close. So what happens is if you put an amount in this field, maybe you're not going to close for a couple months, your payoff is going to be lower. So you want that accurate figure here. So I want to point that out. We'll do with Edge Live. I'll show you what the difference is with those two fields, and I'll come back here later. Now we're in our assumptions, and we're at the mortgage and then the monthly fees. We have this for a current mortgage. If you notice, if you hover your mouse over the screen, you'll get your jump outs. And those are the different screens that belong to the assumption screen. So let's go ahead and put in a first payment date of 1/1. I'm going to use 14 here. My original loan amount was $300,000. And the interest rate, I have 4.5 and then 360 term. You'll see how as I filled in this information, it provided me that ending balance, and at the very base, I have a P&I payment. So this goes back to that conversation where you might know the P&I payment, you might know the rate, but you might not know that original balance. So you might not have all the pieces here. So what I want to do is show you how you'll be able to adjust for that P&I that that the client gave you. So they gave you original loan amount was $300,000, and they know it's a 30-year term, but they weren't quite sure of the interest rate, but they have a payment. So you can, if I raise it to 5%, you can see how that P&I payment changed. I could put it at 4.75. You could see how you could start working around to see what that payment is and to get the right figures. So if I know the interest rate was 4.5%, but I wasn't quite sure of the loan amount, you could play with that as well. So I could put in 315, and you'll see how that payment changes. So I wanted to show you that process. So a lot of times that P&I, you'll know it, but you might have to play with these figures because they're not accurate. The client hasn't provided you enough information. Do you have any questions on the screen? Before I move on, you can always raise your hand and then type it in. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm going to go ahead and let's move on. So with this, we're in our monthly cost. So you might know the dollar figure for those hazard and the property taxes. You could go ahead and fill that in here if you wanted to be able to do that. We also have percentage fields. If you're not quite sure but you know the percentages, you can enter a percentage. And what you would do is just click on that percentage field, and then you can enter it as a percentage amount. Okay, just a moment. Let me go to my questions. Okay, Brian's asking if there was an auto update on this previous screen. I'm sure you're talking about the current mortgage. The auto update, we automatically will recalculate those remaining balance. What this auto update balance will do is hold this balance true based on that date. So say I put in this information, I marked auto update balance. I come into this file a month later. This figure will automatically adjust based on that date and then reduce that balance. So that's what that auto update balance does. So if that did, let me know if that was clear enough for you, Brian. Let's see, Kimberly has a question on the P&I. Okay, on the previous screen, let's go back one more screen. And first payment date, let's see, on the first screen. Oh, okay, the next screen here. This P&I payment, the current monthly mortgage, this is just a data collection field. It's just if they provided you information about the payment, you could place it here. It was designed to be able to take this information over the phone, so a lot of times you would take that and place it in here. So that's the reason for it. You don't need something in this particular case, but it's just to collect that data. So. And then, Brian, I'm thinking what you're talking about, that auto update for you're mentioning, do you have to check it? I'm not sure if you're checking against the amortization schedule. It depends what you want to use it for. The remaining balance will carry over to our product as the starting loan amount. So that's where the connection is between that remaining loan amount and that product screen. You can also, if the borrower has paid additional principal down, this might not be the correct figure, and you have a correct figure. So once you figure out the payment, and this is correct, you can always then just override it and then put in the dollar amount that you know that is left on the account. So they paid down principal. They only owe $280,000. Not the true remaining balance. So you can always override this if you have a correct figure. So I hope that answered your question. Let's go ahead and change it back and see how I just changed that interest rate and recalculated that remaining balance for me. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead and put it in that in the question box. Okay. And as we go on, if you have further questions, we can always come back to the screen as well. So let's go back to our monthly cost. So we're going to do this as an FHA. We do know last year's rate was 1.35. And on FHA loans, I want to stress these are the two items you need to have on an FHA loan. You need to have calculate MI on balance. That provides the declining MI that FHA and USDA require. And they carry it for the life of the loan. MI is for the life of the loan, so that's why I put the 360 in my cutoff month. You don't have to worry about that because we could build product templates that will have this defaulted for you. So once you created that default, you don't template, you won't have to worry about that. Okay, so these are the old rates, old information. If for some reason Kenneth had a second lien, if I marked yes, advance the screen, I could fill out information on the second lien here. So I wanted to put that out there for you so you can see there is a second lien. A lot of times people do have the HELOC. They might want to keep the HELOC, refinance the closed-end loan. So there's a lot of different scenarios. And if that's something you want to see on second liens, we can always, next week, we can cover second liens if you'd like. Okay, I'm done with my monthly cost, so let's keep advancing. If you have any questions, again, put them in that question box. Affordability screen, I'm just going to touch base on this really lightly. What this will end up doing, this screen, is just provide you a little bit of information for the debt-to-income ratio. So if I put this information in when I'm in my products, I'll show you where that DTI shows up. Credit status, again, it's just a drop-down for your information if you want to capture that information. Savings balance, I'm going to go ahead and put in $25,000 here and a nominal rate. And I'll show you in our analysis screen where this carries through. And on purchases, if you put this information in, it also helps you to make sure they have enough cash to close. So if you know that information, go ahead and place the savings balance in here. And again, when we go into the analysis screen, I'll cover that more. Tax bracket, if you want to show the tax advantage of to the borrower, you would place the tax percentage here. If you're not quite sure, we do have a button here that takes you to a new website. Find out that information, what tax year, filing status, and you can see the tax bracket. So this will at least provide you an estimate to provide them an estimate of their tax benefit on the report. This is required on the rent versus own, but not required. It's only if you want to show it on the TCA. MCC credits, if you're doing those type of products, we do have the option to be able to put in that percentage for the tax credit. And you can always show one with and one without. So that's another good option if you're working with MCC credit loans. So if I wanted to go fast through Edge, I would leave this screen empty and just keep moving on. Same with this screen. This is primarily for purchases. And if I wanted a cash out, I could place it in here. I'm just going to go ahead and move on and leave that screen empty. So really the affordability, you could go ahead and bypass to make it to your product. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and develop some products here. And what I want to do first is just show the new FHA with the new MI factor. I want to show an ARM product. If there's a specific ARM product you want to see, I'm going to create the default, place it in the question box, and I will go ahead and show you that. With the ARM, I'm going to show you two ARM products, one with best and one with worst case scenarios, so you can see the difference and understand what you would be showing on the report. So first off, let's create that FHA product. So I'm putting in FHA, 30 years. So it's just refinancing out. For those of you who have product templates, find the one for FHA and pull it down. So if I did in this instance, I have my purchase price here. If I pulled down my template, that was for a purchase, it would provide me that 3.5% down. So in the particular case, this isn't a refinance, and I want to build the templates with you. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this empty. Second question, I want to say, yes, it's a refi. I want to point out these red fields to the right of the loan amount and stuff. If you'll see, those labels have now changed for refinance labels. You can see how it then calculated what the base loan amount is when we have that assumptions in the mortgage. It carried over that outstanding balance. So at this point, depending on your refinance, I'm doing a straight refinance, no cash out. But say they want an additional $10,000, $20,000, whatever it may be, you would just override that base loan amount with whatever cash out that they're requesting and increase that loan amount. So that's where you would do that. So let's go ahead and put in a rate of 3.75 and a term of 360. So we have all that data filled in. Once we create our template, we'll have it marked, oops, the other field, let's mark it yes for FHA. And that will be part of our template as well. So now I want to, before we move on to the screen, if you haven't noticed, we do have the debt-to-income ratio filled out here for you as well as the LTV. When I advance my screen, you'll start seeing our new product and its information here. And the debt-to-income was from that affordability where we provided that information about gross income and items. So you see I have the information here. I have quite a low LTV. That's something you want to think about when you're doing products. Now the next thing, we're in our fee screen. There's always 3 screens that you need to go through to create a product. So I'm clicking on that percentage field, putting in 1.75 for our upfront and mine. This will be part of your default. Prepaid interest is usually something that people neglect to see. This can be part of your default. A lot of times I see 15 days as the defaulted amount. You can see how I put my mouse over it and I get that dollar amount. So this is part of your default. Find out it's 15, 30 days for your company and place that as your default. So the points field, I want to point out the points field. With that, you can enter it as, say if they have 1 point, and I hover my mouse, you can see that dollar amount. But you can also place those rebate amounts here too. So if you have a negative point, you could go ahead and place it in that area. Okay, I have a question here. Mary, you're asking about the equity line. I think, let me advance the screen back. I think you're talking about this field here. And what happens, these 3 labels here change as soon as you mark it yes for refinance. It takes it from purchase labels to refinance labels. It will take the outstanding balance from your current mortgage, carry it over to your base loan amount. In my assumptions area, I did place the property value at $350. Between those 2 figures, it determined what my equity was in the home. So I hope that answered your question, and if not, please reply, and I can go after that a little bit more. Okay, next, let's go back to our fees. So we talked about the points, rebates, where we can have positive or negative numbers in that field. Next is fees. So there's a couple ways of doing fees. You can lump sum them. I'm seeing more people doing lump sums now. That's fine. It gives an estimate. But if you want to be clear, create a fee template. So let's go in there. Let's be able to show that transparency. So if you're on an enterprise account, if you click on the down arrow for the templates, you might have templates already built for you. If not, let me just show you real quick how to create those fee templates. You also see how we have a state field drop-down. This state drop-down will allow you to create fee templates based on state. So if you're originating in multiple states, this is how you can keep those fee templates separate. Pointing out, before we move on, let me see it. Let's raise your hands how many people have fee templates already built. If you could go ahead, let me see how many people have fee templates. All right. Okay, Brian, Doug. Okay, quite a few of you do. I'm glad. That's great. I'm going to also show you a couple items when we get to the second product. On the first product, I'm going to, okay, not sure if I'm creating them correctly. Well, we'll review that. Okay, great. Need help with this area? Perfect. We'll go through it slowly. Prepaids, great. I'll address that again, Kimberly, about how to get those prepaids, the escrow items into your fee templates. And great, Eric. I will show you how to create the templates. We'll walk through this slowly. The first screen, what I'm going to do is pull down a fee. No, I'm going to start fresh. This is how you could start fresh creating a template. In our settings, you can also create templates from scratch as well. But I find out when I'm in a file, I want to create it right then and there, and then I could save it for future ones. So it's, you can either be, set them up in advance or just do it while you're creating your edge report. So when you're coming in here, I have 2 green buttons, add fee or add custom fee. So with add fee, I'm going to click that twice. What I'm going to do is show you how to create an APR fee, non-APR fee, a custom fee, as well as working with contributions. So with this, the best way to start, if you don't have fee templates built already, is to get a fee sheet from your LOS system. When you get that fee sheet, you'll see the fee description. You're going to see the dollar amount, as well as if the fee's an APR, and that's really important too. So usually that is on your fee worksheet that you get from your LOS system. So that would be a good place to start. So for an APR fee, let's do a processing fee. So if you look at my drop-down, there's multiple descriptions in here. tons and tons. So if I take the letter P, I can see now my processing fee. I select that description. Let's go ahead and put in an amount of $4.95, and I'm marking it as an APR. So that's the first fee in my template. Now let's do a non-APR fee. Let's do an appraisal fee. So if I type A, I find appraisal fee, and then I put in that dollar figure. That's not a non-APR fee, so I'm just leaving that box marked no. Now, so it's pretty basic. Get a line item, APR fee, non-APR fee. Those are pretty basic. So now what if you don't find your fee description within the template? Not a problem. That's why we have Add Custom Fee. So if I click on Add Custom Fee, you're able to put in a fee description. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in custom fee because that's original. So any kind of label for your fee. I want to point out these two fields here, calc percentage on your loan amount or your property value sales price. So if you're creating special doc stamps or that use a percentage based on the sales price, I would make sure property value is selected. If a percentage is based on a loan amount, I'd make sure the loan amount box is marked. So I want to be able to show that to you. And if it's an APR fee or not, you would want to go ahead and mark that. So once you've created this custom fee, whoops, I can't find my field 5-15. I'm just putting the date so you can see it my drop down. So once I've finished, I press OK. Now take a look in your drop down, and it's one of your last fees. You can now use that custom fee for any template. So once you've created it, you don't have to create it again. So let's say this amount is worth $500, and I'm having it as a non-APR fee. So we covered that. It's pretty intuitive. Just have your label, APR, non-APR, and then you have your custom. So now with contributions, let's go ahead and work with contributions. If I click on Add Fee, go to my drop-down, type C, we have a field labeled Contribution. That field has logic behind it. So this is something that we have internally. So if you use this field, it will know that this amount is going to offset your other fees. So to watch what I'm doing, so if I have a $500 contribution, take a look at the blue bar a little lower in the middle. You'll see all your borrower paid fees, lender, seller paid fees as well, and your prepaid interest. So as soon as I press return on the 500, you'll notice that the borrower paid fees are reduced by that amount, and now it says that my lender is picking up that $500 charge. So if I click on lender, I could change it to seller if the seller's picking up the cost. So that's how you'll be able to show a contribution where the dollar amount is a positive and identify who it's being paid to. Okay, one more question. Kimberly, you're having a question on custom edits, for the fee description. We do have a place where you can edit any custom fee descriptions. It's in our settings, and I'll show you that after we finish this report. So we do have a place. Custom fees are considered any fee you cannot find in this drop-down, and that's the only reason. Some people just, like a MERS, if you have a MERS charge, there's no MERS charge in here. You would have to create a custom fee and then label that MERS fee or MERS registration, whatever amount that may be. So it's just as you go through that LOS and you're looking at those fee descriptions, if you don't see it in the drop-down, then it's considered a custom fee. And for Susan has a question regarding the appraisal, if it's paid outside of closing. So if it is paid outside of closing, you're correct in one way. She was asking if you would put it in a negative. But to do it as a negative, you sort of have to do it as a positive, so it would be a wash. You would show it twice. We don't have a POC column here. So like here I have my $475 appraisal fee. If I add it again, go into my appraisal fee, then I would have it that way. And now it's a wash. You can also create a custom fee if you wanted, and you can create appraisal fee POC. If you wanted to do that, press OK and use that field instead. So that way it has a slightly different description than your appraisal. So with this, you're charging it. This one, you're showing it's been paid. It's zero due. So, okay, great. I'm glad that helped. Okay, and then let me talk about title fees. That's a great question, Mary. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and leave this here so you can see it. Now for title fee. So that is, before we go to the title fees, let me finish on contributions. So with contributions, let me go ahead and get rid of that appraisal amount. This one, remember, we have logic. This is something Mortgage Coach has in those labels. Sometimes I find people want to create their own, and that's fine. So if you want, add a custom fee. You can create it as lender contribution. This also is the same like with the earnest money, same type of thing. Put in a description, press OK. You have it. The difference between this, you created it, there's no logic. So with that, you have to keep this in as a negative because otherwise we wouldn't know how to offset those borrower fees. So if you look at the borrower fees now, it says $14.31. As soon as I put the negative 400, it's been reduced. You still have to keep it to the borrower because it needs to know to offset the borrower cost. And again, it's just because there's no logic, and there's no logic behind that label that you created, and that's why you have to use a negative. If you're doing earnest money and wanted to credit the earnest money, you would create a custom label called earnest money and then put it as a negative. So that's how you would be working with that. I just wanted to point that out to you. Now let's go to lenders and title fees. So this one's a little bit tricky. It depends where you're located. We do have a field called lender's title. You can see how I did quite a few contributions up there. Lender's title. Let's keep going. Got a lot of credits. Got to clean up my account. Okay, lender's title. So say I selected that lender's title. This is a couple ways different people have done it. One, they just do an estimate. That's fine. They know their figures, and that works. Perfect. Sometimes you don't, and you might want to use a percentage. Usually for lender's title, a lot of times people just leave it empty and fill it in as they go. But you can, like with doc stamps, I know I've been working with the East, and it's slightly different. But just to be able to show you, you'll have your label. You can also put in, say it was like 0.348 you find out was that title charge. You can do it, and it will calculate on the loan amount or the base loan amount, depending what percentage field you have against. But you can also put padding. Some people put padding in for their estimate. So you could put in a figure and then say also $50 padding, and it will add those two figures together to provide your total. So I wanted to, because I've been doing that for some companies where they do have that padding after I put a percentage in. So want to be able to show you in that instance. So if you have a title fee, not quite sure what that percentage is, or a doc stamp, you can always send us a figure, let us know what it is. We can back into it and help you out with that if you'd like. To get that, just email us at support and we'll assist you there. So I hope that helped on the title fees. If not, go ahead and put it back into the question area, and I can cover that a little bit more. We're going to go through this one more time, not as in much detail unless you have the questions, but we'll do this in our second product as well. So once you're done creating this fee template, oh yes, Mary had a good question about APRs. Do we have a list? If you email us at support, we do have a list of what is usually an APR fee and what's not an APR fee. Again, those are guidelines. Every company's different and how they include those. So definitely check out your worksheets, and that should be able to also guide you. Okay, the next step before you're done, you want to save it as a template. So you've done all that work, and you would just go ahead, and this particular product I was doing at FHA, so I'm just saying FHA fees. And again, for my purpose, you don't have to do it. I'm just putting in the date so you can tell it's the template I created today. If you're originating, you want to go ahead and put in that state say I'm in California. If I put in a state, then I press OK. Then when I choose my state template and I put in California, any fee without a test or a test equaling California will display in your drop-down. And I don't have any state tests in my other one, so just want to point that out. But that's good if you originate multiple states. You'll be able to, when you save it as a template, identify the state. And I hope, Eric, that answered your question. So do that. And I'll also show you after we're done when we go into settings. Once you've done a template once, there might be a slight variation to one fee from one product to another. I know when I develop it, usually appraisal fees are different. Tax service aren't in the FHA versus conventional. There's a quick way of copying in the settings. So you could copy one template, copy over, make your modifications, and you're done. So it goes really fast. So once you're done doing your templates, go ahead and apply to loan. And that will go apply that fee template to your loan. And now you have it for any future loans as well. So let's go ahead and move on. And let's place in our percentages here. So we have 0.25. And this could be part of your templates as well. So even for those who are on the enterprise account and pull the template down, if these figures are left empty or are different than what you're using in your state, follow along with me and create a template. So I placed in that information there for my taxes and insurance. Let's put in that point, the numbers because the LTV is lower. Anyone have those off the top of your head? I'm putting in 0.8 and then 132 for my MI cutoff month because when the LTV is low for FHA, you only, under 90%, you have to carry it for 11 years minimum instead of 30 years. And I think the percentage is 0.8. Sorry about that. And this is what's great about developing templates because once you find this, it will be in your template always. So with that, now the last thing I'm going to do is put in my reserves. I want to collect 2 months hazard and 4 months taxes. And this is part of my default as well. Tom, 0.85 is for loans with an LTV of 95% and greater. I know it's 0.8 below, but I thought for some reason, I think it's not. I think it's just 0.8. I'm sorry, I'm talking on the phone. So that's good. So let me find out. I'll get that. I do have the HUD letter. If anyone's interested and wants the HUD letter with all those MI factors at the different LTV percentages as well as that term, just email us at support and we could get it to you. Okay. I'm not collecting 12 months premium because this is a purchase. It's a refi. So now let's save our template. This is the first template. So if I click add another template, whoops, let's go back to add another product. Save as template. So you can label it FHA, and if you haven't created the one with the new MI, I'm actually putting this as LTV is less than 90% for that 80.8% LTV or MI factor. So that way it lets me know, and that's going to be slightly different. Okay, I did point MI cutoff month. What this will do, you have the MI cutoff percentage and an MI cutoff month. If you have a figure in the MI cutoff month, what the system will do is take MI for the minimum of this term. So when it's 360, it's the life of the loan. 132 at the end of that period of time, it will then start looking to see the 78%. If it's been hit for the LTV. If it is below 78%, 78 or below, it will cut MI off the loan. So that's the triggers. This is the minimum. Once it's past the minimum number of months, it starts looking at the LTV to cut off. So I hope that answers your question, Mary. So you would add another product and move on to the next screen. And let's go ahead and I'll put in a 5-1 arm. So if you have an ARM template, you could choose that, but I'm going to sort of show you how we can do some cheating. Okay, going back to our impounds real quick, you could check the 12 months premium. I'm doing a refinance, so I'm not collecting my premium. I would always have this marked on my purchase, so it would be part of my template. And the premium will be added to the reserve. So just to be able to show you how this works, once you put your monthly cost in and your number of months, even if I did the 12-month premium, let's go back to our fee screen, go into our closing cost details. You'll see 3 additional lines now. So you have your hazard reserve, that's the 2 months, your tax reserve, which was my 4, and my premium. So you'll have it all listed here. You'll see that it's all grayed out. You can't edit here. You can only edit the data in the monthly cost screen. But I can remove an item. So I'm removing my premium because it is a refinance. Everything looks good. Apply it to the loan. And you'll notice in my monthly cost screen, it's been removed. That checkbox has been removed. So it's no, so you don't have to add the fees to the or the impounds now. You do not have to add it to your fee template. You could go ahead and just place the monthly cost percentages and the reserve number of months, and it will automatically update your fee templates with those figures. So don't add those, so that's correct. So now let's move on. On our 5-1 ARM, I'm going to show you something slightly different. What I'm going to do, instead of entering all this data again, I'm going to the Copy From button. What I'm going to do is copy from my FHA because it has my fees, it has my MI, my monthly cost. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to show you how to modify it. So once I have that, I press OK. You'll see all my data carried across. So I want to modify this to make it from an FHA to my 5-1 ARM. So I'm going to press no. Actually, let's do it. I'll do it. No, I won't. Okay, I was doing an FHA ARM. If you want to see an FHA ARM printed in the box. So cleaning this all up, I marked no for FHA because we're no longer FHA product. Let's lower that interest rate a bit. I'm going to say 3%. Now you want to do is change it from the loan type. Let's change it from fixed to ARM. And now you're going to have an additional screen for the ARM adjustments. So let's say my first adjustment cap was 5%. My first adjustment month is 61. That's the month my payment changes. Periodic cap was 2%. Thereafter, I adjust 12%. My max rate is 5 above my start rate, so I had 3, so it's 8. Margin is 2.75. Index, this is sort of nice. If you click on that drop down, I'm selecting the 1-year LIBOR, and the percentage amount automatically carries over for me. Floor, if you have a floor on the loan, go ahead and place it in. If you don't, just go ahead and put the margin. Margin is usually your floor unless something specific. So what I want to address now is the drop down on the type of scenario. You have worst or you have best. Worst case provides you the increase, the highest amount you go. So it will take you all the way to the maximum rate of 8%. That's the worst case possible. Best case, we take the interest rate for the changes and take it to fully index, index plus margin. What that is, this is how it's shown on your till, but you always want to show worst case to be able to educate that borrower. So our third product will copy this exact product over, and we'll show it best case. So we'll have a worst and a best side by side. So with that, let's move, and this will be part of your template, so you won't have to worry about keying that in again. And if you have any questions on any of this ARM data and how to set a template, we can help you. Just email us at support. And you got to this screen just by changing the loan type from fixed to ARM. If I change it back to fixed, that screen would disappear. Okay, so there's our ARM information. Now let's move to our next screen. You'll see all those fees carried over, and because I had marked no for FHA, my upfront and my field has been removed as well. So now if I went into my closing cost details, so I have everything that was copied over. So say this particular, Kimberly, I'm going to add one more additional product, so you'll be able to see it at the end of this one. So we'll go through that one more time. So with that, say the appraisal fee on this particular loan was $450. They might have a tax service fee here. You know, you see how you could just increase and add the different amounts to your fee template. So you have a base fee template, Or if you're on an enterprise account, grab it. Sometimes they don't have the branch level. Your fees might be slightly different. Pull the template down, make any modification, add your fees, but always save it as a template, and then you can use it next time, and you don't have to make those modifications. So fee template number 2, I'll press OK, and then that's in my drop-down. So that's how quick and easy you can modify your templates. And unfortunately, Brian, they go in alpha order. So the only way you could really do it is if you start it in a numerical sequence and do it that way. But right now, it's only in the alpha order. Okay. So once we're done, always apply your fees to your loan. And you see how everything added up there. And one thing by using that copy from button, all my monthly costs carried over. So we just have to modify our mortgage insurance. So if I click on that button, say our mortgage insurance on this loan would be 0.67, and I'm keying this in. I know most likely with the LTV percentage you might be talking to the borrower, trying to get them out of that MI, do something different, and I understand it. But I just want to show you how you could physically create and copy and do those items in Edge. So we have everything modified. I modified my MI. I'm done with this screen. But hey, it's a new product, so I want to save it as a template. So save as a template. And I'm going to say that this is worst case, so I know which particular template this is. Once I press OK, so you can key up the 4 products, and you'll see that green screen at the button at the base is Add Another Product. So if I click on Add Another Product, you'll see that it's going to start the whole process again, and I would be able to go ahead and add my additional products. So what I'm going to do is this one's going to be quite quick. And I'm going to put this as best case so you can see it. I'm going to my copy from because the only thing different is that one little drop down. So I'm selecting 5-1 ARM and OK. All my data carried over. And all I'm going to do is change it from worst to best. And you'll see that the payment stream this will stay the same, but on the report we'll see different numbers here in our short-term and long-term. Okay. I made that modification. My fees, it's the exact same product because all I'm doing is showing best to worst or worst to best. And then my monthly cost. So you can see how you start using the copy from feature, your templates. You're really going to be moving through this rather quickly. So let's stop there. We have our 3 products, and let's move into our analysis screen. You'll see here we have our property appreciation rate, short-term and long-term. I want to point out the short term. You know, we do have it at 60. These 2 fields are for you to be able to hold your conversation with the client. Are they going to be staying in the house 7 years? You might want to show the short term for 7. And what I wanted to point out, if we put it back at 60, both the 5-1 ARM is the same savings amount. And the reason for that is there's been no adjustment. The 60-month in this short term is showing a fixed rate loan for those ARM products because the rate hasn't changed yet. It's not changing to the 61st month. So if I put 84 months, 7 years, now the rate has adjusted, and you can see how there's difference in savings. So I wanted to point that out. Anytime you're on an ARM loan, always move the short term past your ARM term period so they can see that adjustment and how it works. Next, I'm going to move on because of the time. I really want to show Edge Live. Touch base. We have reinvestment strategy where you can apply different amounts to principal. We have a great video tutorial on that. Want more information, let us know at support, but we can cover that next week. Moving on, property details. You would just go ahead and place in your information on the property here. This can also be used as a label, so if you don't want to put the property, you could go ahead and put something, Best Buy, great deal, you know, something salesy, looks good. You can tell I'm more technical, I'm not salesy. So you have that information there. Let's move on. We're doing a total cost. If I didn't want to show those arms right now, I could remove them. Only the FHA would show up. And as soon as I mark those would show back up on the report. And yes, Tom, this is recorded, and we will be posting it on the webpage. So yes, it will be there. Advance the screen. These next three screens are just review of each of the quadrants. So you could just take your mouse, go to the jump up preview, and get to the last screen. We want to place on a quote date, so let's go ahead for today. Notify me when the report is viewed. This is my email alert. If I had put in the email address and clients for my partner or assistant, another button would appear here for them to get the email alert. So you can click on preview, but I'm going to go into generate link because preview and Edge Live are one and the same. So I want to point that out. When you send the report, you would want to copy that link, place it in your email, and that's what the borrower will click on to view your report. And I'll show you shortly on how that works. So let's take a look at our report. This is what it looks like. So I do have the 84 months. You can see the difference in savings here. If you aren't familiar with highlighting, I'm just taking my field over one of the data cells, and I'm left-clicking, and that highlights that field. So you can, difference in interest rate, difference in term. What do you want to show them? What do you want to highlight for the client? But the highlighting works greatest when you're in Edge Live because you can direct them, and it's a really nice feature. So more info on the short-term area. I wanted to point this out. This total is your interest that you're paying for that 84 months. So because this is worse, this is going to that full ceiling. This is less because it stopped at the fully indexed rate. So that's the difference between best and worst is this piece right here. It's your interest being charged during those time periods. We add the costs, closing fees, points, to that interest in MI, and that's the total of unrecoverable costs for your loan. Then that's what we do our comparison, and that's what that net savings represents. So wanted to give you a good understanding of that area, and that's where on ARM loans you really have to show different adjustment periods. So let's add a video to this. So add audio video. So since not a lot of you had video, I want everyone to place video now on the reports. It's easy, it's quick. Let's go ahead and click on add video. You'll see how your report displays. And you'll notice in the lower right-hand corner you have a record message button. You'd want to click on that, and then you'll have your pop-up screen. Sorry, I had to put my coffee down. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori. So with this is a very important. You see how simple it was for me just to pull it up. You want to be able to introduce yourself to the client, tell them a little bit about the report, give them different options, and do a call to action. And end it. We have some great scripting I'm going to point out to you, show you some ideas of what you can use and how you can deliver this to your client. So I'll show you that in a moment. Also, if you're not comfortable with the camera yet, we do have audio only, which if you look at the lower right-hand corner of that screen, you can click on that, and then it becomes audio only. So everyone needs to place a message on the report, because just imagine when you get it. I know when I'm in school, and I'm in this class with the instructors, just like this whole time you're talking to me. It does have interaction, be able to see that person's face, and it's very important. So put that message on every report. So now let's talk about Edge Live. So let's clear out a couple of these screens here. I'm just pulling out a tab. Remember earlier I copied that link. I pasted that link in my new tab. And this is what the client's doing. They're going to go ahead and do this just the same. They clicked on your link in the email. They're going to say, I understand. Your video would start playing if you recorded it. And they'll start reviewing the report. You can see I'm not able to do any kind of highlighting, so the borrower can't do it, and they can't make changes to your report. So now let's go ahead and let me bring these reports side by side. Come on. And so I'll be able to show you how this process works. Lead page. Everyone gets to see all my stuff. There it is. Okay, so let's bring this down, bring this over. Okay, and it's easier just to be able to put these side by side so you really get an understanding. And this is where two screens come into play, where it's very helpful for you to be able to learn this process. Also, if have someone in the office, send them the link and talk to them on the report and watch the movement. I had someone on the call say, hey, if you send it to your mom and you can explain the report, walk it through it with your mom, you can do it with everyone. You got it down pat. So what's the difference between these reports? First off, you see in the lower right-hand corner on both reports, there's a print and a save button, so they can print and save. There's also a share button, and I'm copying that link and I'm placing it in the chat box. So if you want to follow along with me and want to see Edge Live in action, click on that link in the chat box. So I just placed it in there. You'll also notice on the bottom there's a Clear All button that we've been talking about, which clears out my highlights. That Clear All button is telling me it's the borrower's report. You'll notice the one on the left-hand side does not have a Clear All button. So that tells me it's my copy. You'll see how it says one viewer. This lets you know if the borrower is on the report with you. This is telling me one person is viewing it. Now I've got 2, 3 people are clicking on the link. So that gives you an idea. If you see multiple people, maybe they might have someone else on the phone or reviewing the report with you. Gives you an idea. See how it keeps going up? And we know we've had over a couple hundred on a report. So just letting you know, you've got a lot of space. So now you have this report. I mean, just look at what you have with email and Excel that you're sending to the client. You have to relate all this information over the phone and try to make that connection. With Edge Live, you can talk about your different products, the FHA product. Talk to them, you want to show refinancing from an old FHA to the new FHA, new MI figures. But I also want to point out our 5-1 ARM, and I'm going to show you the best case and the worst case. You'll see how, I mean, you know how to talk to the client. I don't really have to instruct you on that. You know your conversations. But it's how to use the report. And you can see how, as I'm talking about it, everything I do on my report is appearing on theirs. And that's what Edge Live, it's dynamic, it's live action at that point of time. So when you're talking to the borrower, you can really dive into details. And it's like you're in there, a desk right across from each other, and you'd be able to show them the information, really discuss those payment breakdown, what the P&I payment, if they're impounding, they want their property taxes, what is that full pity payment? You could see how you could discuss this, the current mortgage versus their new products. Now let's talk about closing costs. So if I click on the closing costs tab with the borrower, they'd be able to see that. You could dive into the fee details, and it will open up on their screen. So even just saying, see how I highlight on contribution, it highlights on their end. So even with the reserves, and you want to talk about the reserves and, collecting 4 months, you could discuss it. So you could, I'm hoping you could see the interaction between Edge Live, how you could really be a part of that conversation with the borrower. Reinvestment strategy, if you're doing that reduction of principal, this will be the area where you would add that. So that is Edge Live. Do you have any questions on Edge Live before we move on? Got it, good. Okay, not a problem. Yeah, it's just a quick recap. Edge Live, how to initiate it. You're talking to your borrower on the phone. You would just say, do you have the report up? And they say, yes, I'm looking at the report right now. And perfect. So say you're in Edge. You just then click on Preview, or you could go and Generate Link and click on Edge Live. It brings up your report. Once you have that report up, Edge Live starts. You clear all. You start clicking on the More Info. You'll see how that interaction is. And we have a video tutorial on this that walks you through Edge Live and how to do that. I hope, Kimberly, I hope you got how you initiate that process. But it's just pulling up Preview or Edge Live, click on it, and then click on the solid link that you send to the client. That is what will generate it. Okay, Kimmy. Okay, Manny's asking about screen capture video. Because the way the video is done, unfortunately we can't do it, but we are working on a process where, one, you could do the video through your iPad or mobile device. 2, we are going to try to get a video. You have one video copied into multiple presentations. That's been a big request that we've had. So we are working on those 2 items. Okay, everyone got that? So let's close this down. So now we're done with Edge Live. This has been a great call because I've had so many questions, and it works so well when there are. So next, what I want to do is go into settings. So we're done with the report. We're done discussing Edge Live. So let's click on settings. Just to review, you got your contact info tab. Just review your data. Make sure you have the right branch address. Your MLS license is correct. You have an identifier in front of that number. Any fields that are grayed out are controlled if you're on an enterprise account by your admin, or just email us at support if you have any kind of inconsistencies here, and we can go ahead and help you modify that. Any changes, press the save in the lower right. Images, make sure you get that headshot on your report. It's in the upper right-hand corner. Fee templates. This is when you save those fee templates, this is where they come in. So say I had, you'll see the 515. Say I had a fee change, and now my processing fee is $525. This is where I would update it. This is also a quick way of, if you look at the bottom left, there's a Save As button. This is your copy button. So if I click on that, I now can say conventional fees or USDA fees. Say I'm doing FHA template in a different state. Put FHA, identify the state, make those modifications. So this is the quick way of doing a copy and developing those templates right away. Also, if you make a custom fee, that button called Fees, that's where you go ahead and update any kind of spelling errors, which I tend to do. You can see I have quite a few, my earnest money. So you can see if, say you accidentally, it should be on percentage on the loan amount. This is where you come and make those corrections. Okay, Kimberly has disclaimer questions. I got it. Just one moment, I'll show you. And Manny, what about video? I know that it will be nice when we'll be able to do that copy with the video. That's been a big request, so hopefully we'll get that in there. So back with the fee description. So I'm going to press cancel, so you could identify, modify your or copy fees here, and make or copy here, and then description there. Product templates. Let's cross over to product templates. We do save it. You can see how the FHA and the 5-1 ARM case, this is one less than. You'll see all my defaults. They're all grayed out. I personally don't like putting an interest rate. It's up to you. It makes it quicker if you have one in there, but I like that because it does change. My prepaid interest, my yes. You can see everything that's defaulted, your premiums, your reserves. So you could see why having your monthly costs and your MI all defaulted in here will speed up your process. Same with your closing fees. Okay. Templates. If you have a specific disclosure language that your company wants to appear, let's move to a report so I could show you. Lower left, there's a blue button called Disclosure. This is the language that the borrower has to click I understand to proceed. So if your company has something specific that they want to see, that's not a problem. We have on each report style, I'm in Report Templates under Settings, and the last field is where you can modify that language. We have it in this area, and a button below that is Extended Disclaimer, where you can add more information here. So with that, this is where you do it. And if you need any kind of help in placement and sizing, email us at support and we can assist you. But remember, anytime you make a modification, each report style has its own disclaimer area. So you would need to make sure you update all of them. Okay, let's wrap it up. I've gone over quite a bit. So let's click on Help. I'll show you where you'll be able to get these items, these assets we've been talking about. Knowledge base, just to remember or remind you, this is a search engine. So if I put in Edge Live, I could go ahead and do a search, and it will provide all my video tutorials on how to use Edge Live. So that's one way without looking through everything. Do it if you want to understand the TCA, how to read the TCA. This is a good one to get started with. And going back to that coaching call. Okay, Kimberly, back to the disclaimer language. It doesn't show the whole thing. You probably have to put part of it in the extended disclaimer button, but emails at support and we could go ahead and help you and get that fitted for you. Okay, back to here. Let me go into our coaching call archives because I want to show you a couple items here. Tuesday we have two coaching calls. Please sign up for those here. You already got the Thursday training. These is where the Thursday training calls will be placed. So we have MI changes we talked about from last week. We covered it on last Thursday. Back in August, I did one really in detail on ARMS. But you can see our coach calls, and then we have our Thursday trainings as well. Today's training will be listed under February's classes, so you'll be able to have that. And with that, I'll stick around, answer any questions if you have it, but I'm going to go ahead and call today meeting over. So thank you for attending this training Thursday. I'm glad you're here to learn more about EDGE. Please let us know what you want to see, if it's specific product scenarios. We could do that, how to do open house flyers, rent versus own. Send it to support, and we could go ahead and address it and have it on our Thursday training. So thank you again for participating, and enjoy your day, everyone. Okay, the scripting, I'm glad you mentioned that. So whoever's still on the call, if you want to listen for a moment, let's go back to the coaching call archive. So in the coaching call archive, it's Josh Metal. So let's find the one for Josh Metal. I know you guys could probably see this a lot quicker than, here it is, right there. I'm sorry, I'm so bad at this. So this one right here is Josh Metals, and this coaching call is all about scripting. It's a great coaching call to watch. Also, right below, we have a lot of assets so that you'll be able to access. So you have homework, if you click on that, and that's just prompting you. What's your MCY? What creating different kind of reports. So if you click that open, you'll be able to see all the different items to be able to do for homework to get you more familiar with EDGE. Then go back to, okay. So then we have sales training video. We have a couple advanced training. We also have more scripting here. So if you click on this link, it won't let me click. It's great scripting. It's in a PDF format, so you'll be able to print it out and take a look, modify it, but you'll be able to really be able to see it. So you can see how we have it all just broken down and different types of information. So have that there. So it's Josh Metal. Not quite sure of it. Email us at support, and we could go ahead and send you that information. A fee template and product template. Difference between that, Mary Kay, the only thing is let's go into our settings and go into a product template. In a product template, if you're working with a singular state and it's just you, it's great to have the fee templates because it's one less step. But a lot of times if you go into the closing cost details, you could go ahead and save it within it. But I have a lot of people who originate in different states, and for them, it's best to have the product template created so they get all the defaults for the reserves, the monthly costs. But they want to have that, but they want to be able to not have the fees and pull from the fee template. So that's the only difference. You could combine it, or you can have it separate. So that's the difference. Okay, I think now we can wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, again, and we'll talk to you soon on next Thursday's call.